The #1 shows are all Fox. The #1 podcast,
so
lean right.
Even in spite of that, she's been able to.
Not in spite of that, meaning, well, in spite of that, yeah. Okay. Meaning the mainstream media is not who you think it is. The mainstream media truly leans right.
Maybe that's why it's only tied then.
That's Shark Tank host and clueless billionaire Mark Cuban on CNBC, proving once again that you don't have to be smart to be rich and successful. Welcome to Nerk News, I'm Nerkish, and it's really starting to seem like elites might have some dirt on Mark Cuban. Cuban has gone from making a few negative comments about Trump and Elon Musk to becoming a full-time shill for Kamala Harris. Here he is saying that the media is actually biased towards conservatives.
The Elon quote, and I don't know what you think of Elon, but
I like Elon.
I like Elon too, but she was at 28% favorability,
right.
And then, as you say, things change. She's all the way up to about 50%. I would just argue that filling in the blanks does not account for that move, and that the media coverage has been so positive and almost, Mark, that it's like we don't have to worry about trying to elect this guy who is clearly not up for another 4 years, and it's not Donald Trump. So they would have, the left and the people that need a candidate would have embraced anyone at that point. And you know, ABC, it was 100% positive coverage of her, 92% negative of Trump. So Elon says,
so
what changed the media coverage?
Okay, first, what's the most watched news channel? Who are the most watched and viewed and listened to podcasts? Who are the most watched and listened to or
Is it
viewed?
Fox?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
I mean, it's not close, right? The #1 shows are all Fox. The #1 podcast,
so
lean right.
Even in spite of that, she's been able to.
Not in spite of that, meaning, well, in spite of that, yeah.
Okay.
Meaning the mainstream media is not who you think it is. The mainstream media truly leans right.
Maybe that's why it's only tied then.
Well, maybe, right?
I don't know.
Once again, Cuban proves that he has absolutely no idea what he's talking about. Fox News is one network in an ocean of liberal propaganda, and it carries a stigma for that. It will never be considered credible by the establishment, because the establishment is left-leaning. And not to take anything away from Fox, but as part of legacy media, and less people are watching TV anymore. So it naturally has an older audience which leans conservative. And as for podcasts, sure, Joe Rogan is #1, but let's not forget he endorsed Bernie Sanders. He's only considered right-wing by people like Cuban because he isn't openly hostile towards conservatives. And by the way, the next most popular podcast discussing news is from the New York Times. I mean, these performances from Cuban are really starting to get pathetic. Here he is calling Trump a socialist and saying Harris is good for business.
Compared policy proposals made by Trump to those from independent Senator Bernie Sanders, who's a socialist. What do you mean?
Oh, it was a race for socialism, right? Bernie said that credit card companies should cap their interest rates at 15%. Donald Trump, being the socialist that he is, had to beat Bernie. So Donald Trump went out and recommended that interest rate caps be set to 10%. The fact that he's even suggesting price controls and price caps is socialism 101. You haven't heard that from the vice president. You have heard that from Donald Trump.
Well, yeah, Harris legitimately wants to put price controls in place to stop price gouging created by inflation and overregulation caused by her administration. Not only that, but she supports the Green New Deal and wants student debt relief. What on earth is Cuban talking about here? I mean, it's becoming more and more clear that this guy has pathetic political ambitions. He was clearly spurned when Trump didn't make him VP or give him a spot. He's flirted with the idea of running for president himself, and now he's jumping at the idea of getting a position with Harris.
But I ask you, Mark, whether you would entertain being a Treasury Secretary, Commerce Secretary in a Harris administration.
Head of the SEC. Head of the SEC. That's the job I would take.
There you go. Nothing like selling what's left of your dignity for a chance to jockey for a position in the next disastrous liberal administration. Hope it was all worth it, Mark. But let me know what you think. Is Mark Cuban being blackmailed, motivated by blind ambition, or going crazy due to a severe case of Trump derangement syndrome? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. That stuff really does help us out. Until then, this has been Nerk News. Thanks for watching. Bye!